We'll get started here shortly. We're just going to wait a little bit longer to let people join the webinar, but yeah, we'll get started shortly. All right, we'll go ahead and get started now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate the publication of We Are Not Wearing Helmets by Cheryl Boyce Taylor. We're so excited to share this collection with you tonight, and we're so excited to have this conversation. I have a couple of items to go over before we get started. Northwestern University Press is celebrating Black History Month by offering a 30% discount. To redeem this offer, please use promo code AAHM30 after you add We Are Not Wearing Helmets to your shopping cart after tonight's event. And I will include this information in the chat as well. So that will be there for you when you would like to use it. We are doing a Q&A after tonight's reading. So please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom bar. And we'll get to those at the end of the event. All right, now for the main event. Araceliz Girmay is the author of the poetry collections The Black Maria, Kingdom Animalia, and Teeth. She is also the author-collegist of the picture book Changing, Changing, and with her sister, made the picture book What Do You Know? Girmay curated How to Carry Water, selected poems of Lucille Clifton, and is the current editor-at-large for the Blessing the Boat selections. She is on the editorial board of the African Poetry Book Fund and is currently editing an anthology of original texts and interviews by writers of color on their experiences of pregnancy, loss, abortion, and birth. That anthology will be out with Haymarket this fall. And Cheryl Boyce Taylor is an immigrant poet, teaching artist, and curator. Born in Trinidad and raised in Queens, New York, she is the author of 5 collections of poetry. Her most recent collection is a verse memoir, Mama Fife Represents, about her son, hip-hop legend Fife Dog of a tribe called Quest, aka Malik Taylor. Boyce Taylor has been awarded the Barnes & Noble Writers for Writers Award and is a finalist for the Patterson Poetry Prize. Her work has appeared in Rolling Stone Magazine, Poetry, Prairie Schooner, the New York Times Book Review, and the Chicago Review of Books. She earned an MFA in poetry from Stone Coast, the University of Southern Maine, and a master's degree in social work from Fordham University. And with that, I will let our readers take it away.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to kick this new book off tonight. It is my great pleasure to share some poems from We Are Not Wearing Helmets with my esteemed colleague and friend, Araceliz Girmay. Thanks to Tri-Quarterly Books and Northwestern University. A very special thank you to Panisha Jones and my entire family at Northwestern. I'd like to also thank Vincent Toro, Rachel Eliza Griffith for the book portrait, and Sherwin Banfield conceptually altered the cover design, and Lisa Moran, she also did the cover. I'd like to thank you all, my friends and family, and my partner, Sini. And let's take it away. I'm excited and nervous, but it's okay. Wow. Okay, so I guess I want to say that I use my poems and my voice in the service of my survival. Had it not been for these poems, I don't know how I would survive. And that also comes from something that Audre Lorde said a long time ago. Poetry leads to our survival, is what we need to be here. We should not have been here, but we are. And so we must use our words in the survival of our own lives and the lives of others. So I was thinking that I would start with Devouring the Light, my Martin Luther King poem in light of Black History Month, in honoring Martin Luther King and Black history. But I think that I want to start off with a love poem to the earth, considering the state of America and the state of the world right now. Feels like war to me. Mm-hmm. This piece is called 1,000 Kisses. I refuse one more day of mourning. Fill my mouth with 1,000 kisses. There is so much left to do. I won't get old feeding on all this loss, all this war. Give me some sun yellow tulips and some daffodils and a slow dance for all the loving I have ever held. Devouring the Light, 1968, after Martin Luther King. And I wrote, this was my last year in high school. I was 17. And my high school class traveled to Huntsville, Alabama. I attended a Seventh-day Adventist high school, and our college was Oakwood College in Huntsville, Alabama. So we traveled there for a class trip. And it was there that Martin Luther King, while we were there, he was killed. And it forced me into a whole new world. Something about that event and being away from my family and being there made me feel like I had to enter a new world. I had just been in love and my heart had been broken. And there we were in Huntsville, away from my family. And this just made me feel I need to do something different to change the world. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, but I knew I could no longer be that little innocent girl that came from Trinidad. I had to grow here. Devouring the Light. The day they killed Martin, we could not return to New York City. Our visiting senior class stuck in Huntsville. Streets blazed with suffering in that small Alabama town. In the dull shroud of mourning, the whole world went crazy, devouring whatever light that lit our half-cracked windows. The next poem is a lande for Fannie Lou Hamer. And a lande is an Afghani poetic form. It consists of 2 lines, 9 syllables and 13 syllables. And the Afghani women could not write their poems down. So they sang their poems to each other as they worked and washed at the river, because their words could get them beaten or killed. So lande for Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou, beat with billy club, no. Club, dog, hose, whip, chain could cease her fight, not Miss Fannie. The next piece is called The First Amendment Rights And I wrote it for my Aunt V, who is one of the oldest sisters in my family. I wrote it on her 99th birthday, but she's gonna be 102 in June. So she's really rolling along and quite bright. First Amendment rights for Aunt V. We women stood strong in our madness. In the face of wooden bats and billy clubs, hoses, guns, and mad dogs, in the face of a world that was not ours, a world of dirty, twisted money and flies, toss the worms from trees, burn curtains in windows, let the bodies spark, throats scissored open. Late into that summer, we marched for women's rights. We marched for mothers. We marched for girls and boys. We were women married to our rage against the mad acrobats trying to displace us, trying to eject us. But this was our house, our bodies, our home. We marched long into our aging, our gray hair shining. We marched, our feet covered in blood. Hangers tore us open, still we marched. 1967, we lit our world on fire. Had our illegitimate babies, no father's name on the birth certificate. We collected food stamps and Project Cheese, built cradles and tables, chairs, homes, heads thrown back. We were defiant in our righteousness. Our bodies steamed earth. Rage became our first self. We marched arm in arm, arm in arm. Next day, the white woman still refused to say good morning at the bus stop. My next poem is called Cry, and it's for the Surya, and he's the son of Jai and Ilana Bell Chakrabarti. And I took care of Surya when he was a tiny baby. And this piece is dedicated to him. It's a piece for our broken earth. I cannot tell you when the earth shifted or when the center of its shell broke, poisoning our water. I cannot tell you when the fruit spoiled, leaving bitter dust in our mouths. I cannot tell you how our foremothers survived or why we are still here. Once my grandmother told me, when the baby hiccups, put a thread on his forehead. I tried that, it didn't even work. The baby cried and cried. I held him close to my body until his sound echoed volcanoes, water, trees, rocks, and an aching mask of ships. His cries breaking off small bits of skin and bone as it journeyed through the middle passage. His cries, the sound of Hamatan, of beast, of salt, of sea, of Hamatan, of Hamatan. The next piece is the title poem for the book, We Are Not Wearing Helmets. I'm still getting familiar with the page numbers. My glasses. And I wrote this piece before the pandemic. After our last president was elected, I wrote this piece. We are not wearing helmets. Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, your voice will weave my words into Congo drums. If I painted my face, it would not be the color of surrender. It would be cobalt blue like God's great sky before a rainstorm. Not much in this country reminds me of myself. The billy clubs are coming, Fannie. Already the bombs have begun to fall. Will the oppressors place those dull coils of smoke around their necks or sell it back to us as precious jewels? I have no more rage. Was it something my father did, or was it Eve? We have become things to toss, plastic grocery bags, the Sunday Times, old rusted beach chairs, cigarette butts. We are not wearing helmets or protective suits. Outside, hyacinths are shrieking, not loud enough to drown out the screams. The 3 a.m. moon, a voyeur through sheer blue curtains of our bedroom window, the lush brown village of her body creased around mine. The next piece that I will read is called Mama. A child at my house calls me Mama. He's placed the moon in my ear. Who is that girl who births a son to hip hop the world, to name him Sweetness? Finally, I have become wise woman, an oasis of wild fish cut and scored by my Arima red dust hands. And this piece is for my beloved Malik Isaac Taylor. Just a few more poems. The next one is for Alam. That sweet little boy that was the light in the darkness, in my darkness, after Malik passed away. Alan brought me so much sweetness. He's the son of Araceli Scamai. I watch Alan dance and run wild through the house. He is excited at my visit. He patiently explains why it is dark so early. Because the sun is leaving and the moon is coming in, he says. His heart shines brightly in his eyes. A 2-year-old is educating me. We play together, his soft curls caressing my face. Who is this boy sent to smile my heart? I want to go on the bus. Let's go outside, he says. Let's go outside. I want to go on the bus. His persistence reminding me of outings with my adventure boy. Let's go, he says. I hide my tears, love his baby smell. I can't say baby anymore. He quickly reminds me he is a big boy now. He signs a drawing for Aunt Sini to wish her happy birthday. On the phone, he says, I love you, and shouts a parting, I want to come to your house. I want to come to your house. His mouth lofty and veiled in summer glow, laughing wide, the way he will one day as he shouts his first roller coaster ride. The next piece is for Araceli's Road to Banjo. And last night I was thinking I wrote this poem 30 years ago on my visit to Senegal and the Gambia. In Banjo, the girl with the dirty scarf tied around her head gives me a mango. I give her Neruda's 20 love poems and a song of despair. She points at the cheap threaded bracelet around my ankle. It says poet. I give it to her. She places one hand over her heart, rubs it. In her outstretched hand, a thick, lopsided tomato. She reaches in her pocket and hands me a blue shell. Lipstick for mommy. Lipstick for mommy. She makes a small curtsy, points at me. She smiles. Her teeth, bright, beautiful onyx, glitters in the afternoon sun. I've never forgotten that girl, 30 years. And I will close with, oh, I have two more. This piece is for my mother. Change purse filled with foreign coins. I cannot tell you how much my mother means to me. And sometimes she passed away in 2010. And I wrote this piece because there were times before she passed and after where I felt a lot of guilt. Like I was traveling too much, I was being too busy, I wasn't giving her the time that she needed, and Lord knows she needed a lot of time. And so I felt a lot of things, but writing this poem really freed me. So, change purse filled with foreign coins. On the coffee-stained bureau, onyx earrings black as piano keys. Early morning snuck in through the wooden plantation shades, each measuring the light. A blue wind troubled the cotton curtains. Her light breathing went easily unnoticed. An only daughter, I had reconciled early in life I would be the one to take care of her. I was happy. She had been a good mother. She wore high heels almost to the end, her change purse filled with foreign coins, her white cotton panties, her little wig drying on the bathroom rod. Lovable. Time runs out. Age defies all. It's been one long, joyous road. And finally, I'm going to close with a poem for Breonna Taylor. I'd like to say also that this book, Mama Fife, We Are Not Wearing Helmets, is dedicated to the women in my life, the women who taught me, the women whose footsteps I'm walking in. I didn't select any of those poems tonight. I'm leaving them for next month, Women's History Month. But I wanted to share these poems for honoring Black History Month, which for me is every day of the year. This is Say Her Name, Breonna Taylor. Many years ago, I owned a home in Liberty, New York, and my writing friends would come up and we'd write all weekend. We'd get up at 5 a.m. and write. And on this particular day, we wrote letters to the world, and we went over to the lake and dropped them in the lake. And so this is how this poem begins. That last summer in Liberty, we made paper boats, sat our troubles and sailed them in the lake. We laughed like schoolgirls, our dream a fingertips distance away. We did not know our world would get so ugly. We did not know hundreds of Black mothers doing day's work, killing themselves. Did not know sisters getting raped in the name of marriage. We did not know 16-year-old Garner McMillan, who died alone in a juvenile detention center in Kentucky because she refused to remove her sweatshirt. We did not know Maya Hall, a Black trans woman killed alleged to be driving a stolen car. Did not know Megan Hockaday, mother of 3, killed in her home by police responding to a domestic issue. Did not know Breonna Taylor, killed by police in her home. We did not know Sandra Bland, Rekia Boyd, Chantel Davis, Eleanor Bumpers. Did not know. We did not know even the Catskill Mountain with her wide embrace could not save us. We did not know to take a selfie of each other's ache. Black woman, your heart is everything I believe in. Your breath is enough to save this trembling earth. May sun wrap you in her glitter gold sari. May the wind drape your head in bright orange heliconias. And may we never cease to call your name, call your name, call your name. Here's an apology for your legendary life.
Oh my goodness, Cheryl. Oh, I don't know if you can see the chat, but there's hearts and flowers and different quotes and breathless and beautiful and
oh, wow.
just tremendous and powerful to hear you as always. And it's really an honor to get to be here in conversation with you. And after I read this book, I mean, Cheryl knows, you know this, but I'm going to share with everybody else. After I read this book the first time, I sent like a long set of texts, and then I called you on the phone in the morning, I think it was, and was just going on and on. I was telling my partner, Rasan, wait, you have to hear this, you have to hear this. And I want to tell you, because we're recording this, I want to say it again to you. This book is exquisite. It is so many things. And it's a book that entered my dreaming. And there's something that's so deeply imagistic. I'll say that it feels like you are in your powers, which you are always in. but there's something about the different registers and the clarity of these explicitly political poems, the deep, deep attention to the world that is just, it's really mind-blowing. I can't wait for those of you who haven't read it to read it. I'm going to be reading it forever. And I have some questions prepared for you, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We're going to have a conversation, and then I also have my eye on the time so that toward the end of the hour, as Olivia said, if you all have questions, then please put them in the Q&A, and I will ask them from the Q&A at the end. But just really, I wanted to ask if we could go back to the second poem that you read, and I'm thinking about you and your senior class being stuck in Huntsville, Alabama, and what you said when you were describing it. You said it was such a moment, and you said I had to grow here, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you knew to start this book with that poem. And if there's anything else you want to share about the memory and how formative it was, it would be great to hear that too.
Well, as everybody knows, I came from Trinidad when I was 13 and came to my family who lived here, my mother's sister and her niece, and her niece was an adult woman. And they cautioned me at maybe about 14, they said, you are Trinidadian, you are Caribbean, you do not get involved in all this Black power. We are not part of that, so don't get involved. You know, people end up in jail, they end up killed. I mean, they told me so many things. And at that age, something said to me, yeah, but when they see me, they're not going to listen for my accent. And I knew that this was going to be my home and that someday I would possibly raise a family here. And I was going to school with young people. I mean, they were working and they were adults, but I had to find a way to fit in with my peers. I had to do something, even as a young woman, to combat what we had to go through as Black people. And so it didn't matter that I was Caribbean. You can't tell that when you first see me. So I began thinking about it. If I were to have children here, how would I handle that? How would I, what would I teach them so they can stand up for themselves? And I knew early I had to begin standing up for myself, and that everything wasn't just a party and a good time. Because I was out there facing the dirty looks and the little comments behind my back, being a dark-skinned woman. First of all, I went to a school that was all Black, but they laughed at my accent. So there were things happening that my family didn't really know that I had to face. And so racism was one, even though I was in a Black school. So, and so, like I said, when I was in Huntsville and this happened with Martin Luther King, it really gave me more food for thought. And there was a seriousness about that event and that incident that we were all in danger. We were not safe. I mean, his philosophy was for peace and unity, and he was still killed. So I started the book with that because I was already through the book. I was almost done writing the book when Trump came into power, his power. And I knew I had to start the book with that poem because that was where the biggest awakening started for me as a young Black woman. And so I wanted to start the book there. It was really important. It called to my spirit. In fact, I dreamt about that. About I was in Huntsville again, and this is another thing, the only other time I went back to Huntsville And this might be simple for some people, but as a Caribbean woman, we were under British rule for a long time. The only other time I went there, Princess Diana died while I was there. So somehow I was learning, listen, you have got to document this, record this, and write about it and write about that place, because that's where I became a woman.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's something about, Jessie noted this in the chat, I noticed. Let me see if I can go
My
back.
Jessie?
Your Jessie, yes, your Jessie noted this moment that I noted, and that has been kind of circling through, and I noticed it recurs maybe twice in the book, if not more, but this moment, not much in this country reminds me of myself. And I'm thinking about that, and I'm also thinking about the poem that there's so many poems I love. Like, seriously, I was like, Rasan, listen to this, and I was like, maybe I should just read this whole book to you out loud, and then I'll let you read it because I want to see your responses. But there's so many poems and pieces that just stay with you here. But I'm thinking about that quote, not much in this country reminds me of myself, but then also the Road to Banjo poem, thank you for reading it, in which, to me, that seems like a moment where many things are reminding you of yourself, or you're seeing this girl and you are reflection somehow. We talked a little yesterday, but I wonder if you could talk about that. Not much reminds me, in this country reminds me of myself. What you do with that, what you have done with that, but also if you could talk about the things that do remind you of yourself. And
well, this little girl, she was the shabbiest little girl that I had ever seen, but my heart was so drawn to her, and she to me. I know it. She looked at me. We had a language barrier. We didn't speak the same language, but believe me, we connected. She walked over to me and handed me the mango. Now, you know me and my Trinidadian mango. So it touched my heart when you hand me a mango, no matter where I am. And she was a young girl. I don't guess, maybe she was about 10 or something like that. This was in Gambia. And one of the things that connected me was how the people looked there. I think I was saying to you, the older women looked like me, the women my age, that little girl, the baby girls, they all had the same face. And I was connected there, so connected. And it reminded me of Trinidad, not just the climate, but the little thatched houses and the houses that people made, the marketplace. And I met this little girl outside of the market, and we went in and she followed us around. And there were other people with me, but she was kind of like sticking with me. And she turned to me and said, lipstick for mommy? Oh boy, it just reminded me of my mother and the love I had for my mother. She did not ask for anything for herself. She asked for something for her mother. And yeah, she got me. That just touched my heart. I've never forgotten her. That was 30 years ago. I tried to put this in my other Northwestern book, Arrival, and they were like, well, I don't know if this really fits in. They didn't say that this time, but I wanted that poem to be somewhere for longevity and forever. She touched me. I thought of my mother and I thought of how my mother and I used to go through the market in Trinidad and pick up, things, the Arima market, which is my town. And that experience reminded me of that, or the bartering that went on there in the marketplace. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I was connected to the land. You know how much of a land girl I am. I love plants and flowers and fruit. And so that connected me, which is something that I don't have here. Maybe I had some of it when I was growing up in Queens, St. Albans, Queens, but the world has changed so much that nothing reminds me of myself. It just doesn't.
I'm thinking about your last book, your last brilliant, beautiful book, Mama Fife Represents, that you wrote after Malik's death. And one thing, some of you know this, but not everybody knows, but you were writing We Are Not Wearing Helmets. You're writing some of these poems at the same time as you're writing of that book. And I'm wondering, first of all, it's like, I don't know, it amazes me. It's astonishing to me. They feel so intricately connected, but also so different as books. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the relationship between those books, but then also how, more generally, how you write in grief, through grief, in loss. And I'm thinking about your beautiful son, and also thinking about this time of devastation. I love how you said Trump in his power, when he was in his power, not our power, but his power. But so you're writing through so much ache and war. And I wonder if you could share anything that occurs to you.
I guess I feel like the ache and the loss of a son is similar to the ache that we feel losing our sons and daughters in the way that we are. Mm-hmm. And if anything, those are the two things that link both books. Mm-hmm. And also how I had to fight to get out from under the sadness to live again, because Malik Shaw has left us a lot of work to do. I want to give a shout out to my daughter-in-law, Deisha Head Taylor. He has given us a lot of work to do. But I feel like that's a fight I had to push through. I had to keep going, plowing through to get back to my work and get back to my job as a writer. And I feel in We Are Not Wearing Helmets, I'm still fighting the world. I'm fighting the racist system. I'm fighting the way seniors are treated, the way poverty is used against my people. I feel like I'm doing that fight also for survival, and for my survival and for the survival of my people, friends, family, my chosen grandchildren and nieces and nephews that's coming, my bonus grandchildren, I should say. I feel like the fight is similar. Yeah, definitely. That is what joins those books. And also in both books, I end with a triumphant spirit, a growing spirit, a spirit continuously free, because this will not get me down. But make no mistake, we have to all be fighting. Mm-hmm. I remember Audre Lorde, when she would read and people would say, "Oh, you're so great. I love what you're saying." And she would say, "You don't have to tell me that. I don't need for you to say that. What I need for you to tell me, I'm doing my work. Are you doing yours?" And I've never forgotten that. She never wanted all those accolades. She wanted to know, are we doing the same work? Because it's not enough for me to be doing it. You have to do it too. And we all have to fight, no matter what our weapon of choice is, whether it's a pen or a voice or law school or medical school or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I wrote, in my notes, I wrote, "This is a brilliantly, fiercely political work, honoring kinship and familial ancestral relationships across time and nation, unruly and unruled, complicating even the accepted terms and all of their assumptions of our time. I'm thinking about how you talk about privilege in your poem, Let's Make a Drum.
Oh,
there is a knowing so deep, so black here. You describe the flowers and become purple martin, throw shells, and the ancestral voices are stronger than before. That's another quote from your poem. And I'm thinking about, I mean, I feel like I am given so much by these poems, and I'm thinking about how you describe that, like that last poem where let's do this, let's do this. It feels like you're calling us to action with you and calling yourself to action.
yes.
I wonder if you could just share a little, and then if people, just to remind you, if anybody has notes, like I could hog up your time. I don't want to hog up your time. So if people have questions, please throw them in the chat or Q&A. But I'm wondering if you could talk about what these poems have given to you, and a little more about what they might be or what you hope they might offer to readers.
These poems have brought me solace, for sure. I feel in my heart, no matter what happens, no matter what way my life goes, from this point, I have given and I've shared fully from my heart. I like that this book is a little bit different from Mama Fife Represents. I like that the theme is different and what I offer is different. And I think, as I said in the beginning, I want to, and I do use my voice for my own healing, for my own strength. And I'm hoping that if it's one person, that they find something healing in this book. We have to speak for each other. And what I want to say to the young writers, young artists, do not forget the people whose shoulders you are walking on, whose footsteps you are walking in. When I think of the opportunity that I had to study with Audre Lorde and June Jordan and Ntozake Shange, Cheryl Clark, there's no way I would be the type of writer I am without them. Do not forget, you didn't start this. And there'll be somebody behind you coming to continue the work. So please continue the work that we're all doing, but do not forget your ancestors. You can't burn the bridge behind you, or there's nowhere to go. And so I am so happy to have these poems honoring the women I love. Winnie Mandela is in there, Maya Angelou. They're just so many, you know, friends. There's a poem in there to Aracelis, one to my partner, Sini. The book is dedicated to my daughter-in-law, Deisha Head Taylor. Many poems about my mom. I just can't seem to untangle myself from my mom. Sometimes I think we're one person, and every day I look more like her. Unbelievable. But the book has brought me healing and a lot of happiness too, and a lot of pride. I am proud. I am proud for this book. And I hope that it reaches you wherever your home is.
Cheryl, I mean, what you cannot burn the bridge behind you. Remember, no. It came, I see Roberto has claps, ashe. I found so much healing. Cheryl lets me know that it's okay to grieve and work, to continue the work. Is it Rachel Parker or Rochelle Parker? I'm not sure.
Rochelle.
Rochelle. Thank you for this call to build with our elders. That's from Denise. I mean, hopefully you'll have this chat, but you said, I wanted to ask you, you had talked about it, you've shared with me in different moments about your mother reciting poems, and that she would recite poems to you and your brother as children. Yes. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that relationship, and really like a shared, like what that was for you to have a mother who recited poems and swam with you on her back, but like who she was to you as a young person. And how
well, I did, first of all, I didn't know that other mothers didn't do that. I thought every household did that. But my mother loved poems, and in her school program, they had awards for if you recited poems, and they gave them long European poems, Shakespeare and this one and that one, and they would have to memorize them and recite them. That was also part of my schooling when I was still in Trinidad. I guess 5th grade, 6th, 7th, that was part of the educational process. And so my mother would recite these poems. She'd sing around the house. There's a poem in the book about kneeling by our bedside and praying in the morning before we left. And next thing we'll be praying, and next thing you know, my mother would be saying a Bible verse. She was dramatic. My mother would be reciting a Bible verse and we'd be on our knees. I can laugh at it now, but I didn't think it was so funny then. But I loved hearing her voice. I thought she was the most beautiful person I had ever seen anyway. And so I love that, but it was like, oh gosh, Ma, let us get up. We gotta go to school. But that was her whole thing. And she recited poems to Malik and I also. We read poems. We'd get in her twin bed, Malik and I, and she'd be saying, get out, there's not enough room. But she's not pushing us out. She's just saying that, why are you both in my bed? But she's happy for it, and she's reading to us. So I don't know, I still have a very long, she's the first person I ever loved. I loved my father too, but my mother was just special. And after my mother to show you how special she was, after she had me, she became a vegetarian. That was 1950. It was almost unheard of. But she was something else. Yeah. Yeah, very special.
I'm wondering, I'm thinking about your mother and you and your son. I mean, the poems, the language, the expressivity and brilliance. And you said something yesterday. We were talking about the cover, and I had sent a note to Cheryl to say, I mean, this is you. How old are you here?
I think maybe a year. I'm not sure. My mother was holding me, and I was on a chair. This is what she told me, that she was holding me. She didn't want, to be in the picture, but she was holding me on the chair. So I was very young there. Mm-hmm.
Oh my! And one hand closed and one hand open.
Oh boy! And check out the little bracelet and the ring.
I know.
Caribbean families.
I love it. And I'm just thinking about how this little girl version of you, this baby. And I said to Cheryl, it's so striking to me that she's so little, but she feels she's such an elder. And this is one of the oldest versions of you, one of the selves that's been with you for a long time, your little girl self. And you said, I asked for permission, and she said I could share this with you, but you said, I do believe that I came as an elder and a child at birth. And I also believe that I was handed my twin brother's wisdom. On numerous occasions, he has asked me to speak for him. I just am so moved. I don't know if you want to say anything, but I think you are one of the, you are deeply connected to the roots in the sky, it seems to me. And your clarity of purpose, and that you're speaking with your brother and he's asked you. I mean, I just feel like there's a knowing that you have and that these poems possess or are made of, that is just you.
Thank you. Well, I guess, first of all, I want to say that you were the person who said, this has got to be the cover for We Are Not Wearing Helmets. That's you. You were at my house and we were looking at photos and talking about the title of the book, and you said this poem and this picture, and I looked at it and said, "Oh yeah," because We Are Not Wearing Helmets speaks about the vulnerability of my people. How we're so kind, we're so forgiving, we're so damn generous. While bombs are dropping on our heads every day, and we still get up and smile and keep going. And I mean, you know, I've seen this in every generation of my family. And so that's where the title comes from, the vulnerability that we have. We're just sitting there. And I saw that in that photo. That little girl is sitting there so sweetly, and I doubt that she was that sweet even at that age. You know some of the stories I've told you about her, but
sounds like fire.
Huh?
I said she sounds like fire in the best
boy.
way. In the
Yeah.
best way.
But you know, I wanted to really say that one of the things that made me heal after losing Malik, which I was shattered and finished, I thought, was my therapist. I went to therapy for 3.5 years. And one of the first things my therapist said to me, and she knew me because she was my medical doctor for 10 years before that. And then she shifted herself into therapy. And she said, "How are you standing?" I was like, what? What are you talking about? You know, because I wasn't thinking, I could hardly function. She said, "How are you standing?" She said, "Because there has been so much loss around you." She said, "Do you realize you lost your twin brother at birth? And then you came and lose Malik's twin brother, and now Malik," she said, "that's why you're speaking. That's why your voice is there, because you're speaking for all these people." I never thought about it in that way. Never thought about it. And she would have me do meditations and call on them for their help and their voice. And the one thing about me, a Caribbean woman, I don't always ask for help. I don't know how to ask for help. And it's been something drilled in me by the women in my family. You don't ask people for help. If you do, they know your business, and then they can tell you business, you know, that old-fashioned thing. But she was one of the persons that was making me look at that. And you know, how I needed to continue using my voice, and why it was so important for me to get help and to get back on my feet, because there was so much I was obligated to say and tell. So that was one of the things that helped me too. And then, like I said, Malik left us so much work to do that I had to just get with the program.
Cheryl, we're just about at time. I want to say back to you. I want to sample your words back to you, which is, Black woman, you are everything. Your heart is everything I believe in. I'm saying your words back to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And also, I think I see Parnisha's got, let me see. I'm not technologically savvy. I don't even know.
Hey, Parnisha, she's there?
Yes, and I see raised a hand. Let me see. Can I do this? There we go. Hi, Parnisha.
How are you?
I don't see her.
You know,
oh, let me go on view. Maybe I'll see.
Team running. This is not my show, so I just want to make sure. Let me see. My voice. Let me just hold on 1 second.
Okay.
It's nice to see you. Oh.
Not yet.
Should I do something?
Nope, you don't have to do a thing. Hold on 1 sec. They are seriously gonna
there you are. There you are. How are you? Hey.
Hey. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to chime in because this has been a beautiful event. And I want to, first of all, I want to thank you. Araceli's, you are just a treasure to us all.
Yes, yes.
So thank you so much for being part of this and really celebrating this work in so many ways. But I also just wanted to chime in to just because I want to be here because this collection, as well as Arrival, has meant so much to me. And the idea of when we are not wearing helmets, the thing that I thought about actually as a person of a certain generation, and that's the question I wanted to ask, is I think about dementia and Alzheimer's, how that the helmet, the whole idea of the head, the mind, and how it speaks to the body. And now this has become so much part of the conversation of what memory is lost.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so when you sent this collection, I will say this as your editor, I just kept thinking about the people that I love the most, the people that I've encountered who have lost the helmet.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to congratulate you on this new book, and we are
Thank
so
you.
proud of you. And I wanted to just at least chime in and
Thank
just
you.
absolutely proud. We are published to do this work, but at the same time, I wanted to ask that question. And I also wanted to ask that question about the idea of memory, how you do memory before and after pretty much one of the most, earth-shaking, soul-shaking things that have happened in your life, losing your son.
Yeah.
And you've lost a son, you've lost a brother, but at the same time, where do you fit in all of this is the question I want to ask. And how do you move forward? And how much are you going to take? And how much are you going to actually just say is 100% you? Is the question I'd like to ask.
100% me. I guess my faith and my joy is 100% me. I have, of course, I'm 71 now, and there are times I walk in the room and don't remember what I walked in there for. And I went through with my mother a bit of Alzheimer's, and I have friends my age that's struggling. So of course that was always in the back of my mind. But I think this loss, and I think I said this to Ara, I think this great loss of my life has only pushed me forward. Whatever time I have left, I have got to use my voice. And this seems to be a time when work is coming to me and I am so thrilled. But the universe took something really important for me. But now that I look at it, it has given me so much back. And one is my voice. I'm almost fearless in my writing. I'm not worried about what other people think about it. I'm just going to keep going and being honest and truthful. I think Ara asked me the other night, Araceli's asked me about, I don't think she used the word bravery, but it was something about courage. And I never even think about courage. I just write down what's coming to me. And I ask the universe to just give me and tell me. And Keisha Gay Anderson, I pulled one of your tarot cards tonight before I started reading. And it says and I said, Malik, give me a card. I pulled a card and it says, there are a lot of words in the ether. Just take the time to listen. I was like, okay, thank you. So I don't know if that answers your question, Panisha, but love and my joy for people. And I didn't have to be here. I wondered, why is it he's gone and I'm here? But I see it's to continue telling the story and sharing the work. And so I'm grateful and humbled to be doing that.
Thank you so much. And one thing I will say, and this is totally off script because I'm going to have to disagree for one moment with our great elder, Audre Lorde, is that a Black woman, a woman of color, should not be afraid to get all the accolades. Get it now.
Okay.
Take it, because that's armor, I think, in so many ways. I think that's the helmet in so many ways.
Okay, okay. The armor and the helmet, okay.
We have been owed this, and it's not even what we're owed, it's just how we move in the world. And I don't want us to be scared about being celebrated. I don't want us to be scared about being our best selves and being acknowledged. So I'm acknowledging you.
Thank you.
I'm really grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you.
So I'll turn it back to Adesalise. You're running this show.
Okay.
And I think I turn it over now to Olivia, and just deep thanks, gratitude forever, Cheryl, for this work. I am so grateful for it. I cherish it. I am grateful for it. Thanks, everybody. Congratulations.
Thank
Cheryl.
you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you all.
On behalf of Northwestern University Press, thank you to everyone for attending tonight's wonderful event. And thank you to both Cheryl and Adesalise for being here as well. We Are Not Wearing Helmets is now available on our website. You can visit nupress.northwestern.edu to get your copy. Thanks again, everyone.
Okay, all right.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.